As climate change brings higher temperatures to certain parts of the United States, drinking water is becoming a coveted natural resource. Our next story is about a group of residents in Wichita Falls who, faced with a dire situation, turned wastewater into drinking water.
Northern Texas is experiencing perhaps its worst ever drought. And yet all this water is being wasted. 4 million gallons a day of treated drinking water is simply being thrown away. It's because regulators are still deciding if the water is clean enough to drink. For the last few months, the city has been trialling a new source of water, wastewater. Usually, most of the city's supply comes from here, Lake Arrowhead. But 4 years of drought has decimated lake levels. Rain occasionally falls, but not enough and not in the right place. The rainfall that would normally run into the lakes is simply being absorbed by the dry, parched land.
Anytime you're in a drought and you're watching your lake levels decline, there's always in the back of your mind, will we run out of water?
Daniel Nix is the man in charge of the city's water supply. He's had to declare a Stage 5 drought catastrophe, the highest risk level, and forced people to use less water. But it still hasn't been enough, so a new source of water has been found. The city installed this 21-kilometre pipeline so the water leaving the waste plant could come straight here to the water treatment facility to be cleaned. And Nick says the reaction from residents has been overwhelmingly positive.
When we pitched this to them early on, back in mid-2012, we didn't have anybody stand up and pound the table and say, absolutely not, we're not doing this in Wichita Falls. What I hear most from people is what's taking so long? Why isn't this online? We're running out of water.
For some, though, the idea of toilet to tap is hard to swallow.
Sounds kind of gross. If I didn't know, I would drink it, but if I knew, I wouldn't really want to.
It may sound like it's gross, but more than likely you've already drunk water like that before.
I usually drink bottled water, but it's fine to water plants that's in our homes. But I mean, I think if they have the science to make sure that it's clean and it's okay for us to drink, then awesome.
The biggest cost for the city has been the pipeline. It raised a $13 million bond to buy it. But even with this new process, without significant rainfall, the city will run out of water in 2 years.
I don't fear it, and it doesn't keep me up at night, but it always plays on my mind. I wake up thinking about it. I go to bed thinking about it. As I work through the day, obviously I'm thinking about it. But when I go home, as I'm eating dinner, or I'm interacting with my family, I'm thinking about it.
What's happening in Texas, especially with global warming, shows just how important a resource water is becoming. In the future, if water becomes even more scarce, there are fears that wars could be fought over this precious natural resource, and places like Texas would have no strategic importance and become forgotten dust bowls. For now, Wichita Falls must wait for the regulators to decide if their water quality is good enough. Until then, water they can't afford to lose is simply going to waste. Nick Harper for Telesur, Wichita Falls, Texas.